All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Pollard at solarpowerthepeople.org. You can find me at Jeff Pollard 11 on Instagram. I'm with Josie Grenfell, and we are going to discuss food to soil. And Josie, I'd love for you to tell us what food to soil is. Greetings.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Food to soil is a system where we make a fertilizer from using commercial food waste. Do you want me to break that down a little bit for you, Jeff?
I would just like to know, well, you could break it down, but yeah, I would like to know what food waste means to you and all that for sure.
So a little snapshot of my background. I'm a dietitian and I've worked in public hospitals for going on 20 years. And I've just come from somewhere where I see a lot of food waste, a lot of perfectly edible food waste. So I went about changing that for the hospital I work in New South Wales. We're the only hospital that has zero food waste to landfill. And that was purely because I suppose I, started to question what are the options we've got. And the first one was to make sure the food waste that we had went to people that needed it. So in Australia, that's Oz Harvest. So we, identified what could be, say, rescued. And then the rest was that kind of post-consumer food waste that couldn't be reused. And, when I started looking into the options we had here in Canberra in Australia, it kind of got me really interested in the whole processes of food waste. So ours actually goes to GoTerra, which is a fabulous business that sends food waste to like a maggot farm and the maggots feed on the food waste. But I looked into kind of compost, and then I got into a little bit of this hydrolysate making, which is what food to soil is. And it's a process of fermenting food waste. So essentially I fixed the hospital problem and then still had this drive to do more, and kind of dove into the journey and met these wonderful people. And on the journey, my co-founder, Annabelle Schweiger, who has a background in permaculture, and she didn't shop for 10 years, so she has like chickens and goats, and that's just, you should see her setup. It's like amazing. And we got together and went, there is so much of this food waste. This is a business of the future. Why aren't people doing it? So we kind of went about to create it.
Okay. So do you partner with businesses, or how do you find your food waste?
So we're quite unique in that we aren't doing domestic food waste, which is home food waste. It's really contaminated. We don't need that much at the moment with the volumes we're doing, being a startup. So cafe food waste is fantastic for us because we use coffee grounds and then we use post-consumer food waste. And most cafes, they're open from say like 7 till 3 here. The waste is actually quite standardized. If you go to cafes, generally you're pretty much going to know what most things are on the menu. And we've done over 50 batches, and most of the time with maybe a 5% variation, it's clean because we can educate the people about separating food waste. It's not contaminated and it's pretty standardized. So cafe food waste is really good.
Now I'm still kind of new. I'm still kind of new with my composting, but you said fermented, but like, do you work with worms at all? Because I did in my research realize that worms love coffee grinds.
They do, and that's interesting. There was a worm farm guy called Global Wormy, and he's based here doing a worm kind of composting process. And we're not a compost pile either. So I think this is what it's kind of fun for us to explain the difference.
Okay.
We're like a brew house. It's like a brewery or a winery.
Okay.
So you go in and imagine you've got big tanks, big stainless steel tanks, and where that beer is brewing up.
Okay.
Essentially we macerate and then we inoculate our brew with our own special inoculant. Okay. And then it sits and brews up, and all the good bacteria is kind of like, and what we describe is that it's kombucha, but for your plants and soil. And being a dietitian, that is really core to me, because I think, the medical world is really kind of latching on finally to the fact that so many chronic diseases are linked to the human gut and how healthy our inner system is. And yet we are focusing on returning those good macros back to the soil that grows our food. So it's, for me, tick, 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 like that circular solution. And you know, it just makes sense.
Now, I know you guys are probably on some kind of conveyor belt system, but like how long is your process usually from getting it from the cafe to in packaging?
6 weeks. In summer, maybe 4. But in Canberra, where we live, I don't know if you guys know this, but Canberra's the coldest city in Australia. Crazy to live here. It literally snowed last week, but it's slower in the colder weather. So in an ideal world, we would be living in Queensland where the outside temperature was warmer, because we have to heat our fermenting tanks to, you know, something like 30 degrees, just to make sure that we can still have that fermenting system going. So minimum of 4, maximum of 8 weeks, depending on weather.
And just to let the viewers know, as of this video recording, I'm in the northern hemisphere right now, and she's in wintertime in the southern. So just to be clear, she's dealing with her winters right now. But it's awesome.
It's one of those things here in Australia that the winters, most people think our winters are mild, but you know, it was -2 degrees here this morning.
Oh, I know from, well, my own experiences traveling there, it's you guys are tough. It's crazy there. It's a lot of fun.
Hot.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Yeah. I've heard though that the northern hemisphere is getting a horrendous summer as well, which is, you know, concerning for us eco conscious people. But has it been really hot?
Oh no, it's I mean, every year you kind of hear about record-breaking heat waves and so on and so forth. And then I think I've read somewhere with like Australia, excuse my ignorance, but somewhere in the central, you have like the hottest point or something because there's no ozone or something. I believe it's there. And it's just like, I mean, you're gonna be talking right now, everyone watching are people that kind of care. So you're just like, yeah, it's everyone feels the heat.
Yeah, true. And I always think, you know, you don't want to get your stats wrong with people that are probably listening to this, because they're probably all over it way better than what we can do. So I'm thinking, yeah, we just know it's hot. Let's just stick with that.
Well, I mean, we don't have to be pros in that category, but we could at least put our hand out and be like, well, it's baking right now. I think it's pretty hot today. So.
That's true. You know, actually, this is a really good stat that I do say in terms of linking food to soil with this conversation. In terms of the amount of commercial food waste, and this is just commercial food waste, and I'm telling you guys this because I think you'll actually remember it. In Australia, if you were to stack our commercial food waste on pallets going from the ground to the International Space Station, it'd be 14 times up and back, just commercial food waste, and just in Australia in 1 year.
Oh, gross.
So you kind of go, oh my God, like I can get that. I can get pallets just stacked on top of each other all the way up in International Space Station, and then down and back 14 times in 1 year. And that's not even domestic food waste on top. So it's like, whoa.
That's wrong.
That's a good one, right?
But I'm glad, I'm glad you're kind of doing something about it. I want to have a question where I want you to kind of flex for us in terms of brag about your soil. What have you had people kind of tell you they've seen changes in this positive way, or what crazy things can we expect when using your fertilizer?
Okay. So we have, as Australia is known for having some of the most ancient soils on the planet, and particularly where I am, where it's very hard, clay, dry soils. Okay. So as anybody who's probably watching this knows, our premise is that if you feed the soil, you don't need to feed the plants. And by doing that, I mean, we don't need to put urea and nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium and stuff on top of it in a chemical form. So much of the solution to all of that kind of goes underneath in the subterranean life. So we kind of think that food2soil is there kind of supporting the subterranean life force. And what I've noticed here, I live kind of up a hill, and so the further you go up the hill, the worse the soil and more rocky. And what our customers are saying as well is that, they're starting to see the worms come back in, which is great because our product is full of all these good bacteria and microbes that essentially help that workforce and help the plant roots absorb the nutrients that the plant needs to grow. But some more specifics, we've heard some lamandra, which is an Australian kind of grass shrub. It had some fabulous results on that, and some of our there's a guy we've got up in Queensland University is doing a lot of tests for us on natives, which being an Australian and being into eco stuff, I'm really big into native flora and fauna. And then we've got some people who've been saying things like they're potted plants, which is great because we're trying to appeal. We do have competitors that are in that kind of farming broader market, and in the long term we would love to get to that because we think if we can get food2soil out more broadly, hooray. But when we were really looking at the way the business was going to go, we felt that we were going to more focus on the home gardener, the smaller market first, and grew up a bit of that following, get the message out there, kind of link up with people who are like us, create an alternative to the sea salt tonic. That, I don't know if you're a gardener, but I have bought copious amounts of sea salt over the years. And the more we looked into it, we said, yeah, it's good, but it's powdered seaweed from a maybe not ethical source that's microbially dead. So with food2soil, we have almond seaweed as well, and it makes so much more sense that ours is made from local waste products. It's made locally, it's ethically, it's sustainable. So we're kind of challenging that culture of go to Bunnings, which is our hardware store, and buy sea salt. It's eventually go to Bunnings or get online, go to food2soil and buy food2soil.
Okay.
And yeah, Venus flytraps. I had a guy from work who's using it and he's like, oh my gosh, my Venus flytrap, the flower never, looked pink and vibrant and it used to flop. And now his Venus flytrap is bright pink and like ready to snap.
Okay. All right. No, that's perfect. So my last question, and this could be a possible heartbreaking one for us, is this a product, you guys are in Australia, that can be distributed elsewhere to America or other countries?
So I am, there is a company that's in America that doesn't distribute to Australia that I think that you guys, and I'm conscious. I mean, you know what? It's more about the world and the planet than it is about us in business. So you should look up AgroThrive because they do something similar, but they use industrial waste. But they're not in Australia yet. So we essentially want to be Australia's AgroThrive. Though theirs is a biggest, as I said, like in industrial, they use I think it's seaweed, no, not seaweed, seafood, but in really big volumes, and we're using kind of that smaller commercial. So if anyone's in America, maybe go into AgroThrive, check them out. AgroThrive, thanks Josie.
Australia has got it because it seems like I've been finding a lot of people that care in your country, and so people watching this also, there's a majority that are in Australia, so please look up food2soil also.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to just back us up there and go food2soil.com.au, website under construction, but should be ready in the next few weeks to buy online.
Oh yeah, but in the meantime, you could also just type in food, the number 2 soil on Instagram, and you can find them and support them that way, just with a follow and whatnot. But thank you, Josie Grenfell. I appreciate this chat. Thank you for getting up early for this. So,
I know, Jeff, it's okay. I'm like up at 5:30. This is like 9. It's the morning tea time. I've already had breakfast.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Jeff, for inviting us on and for giving us the opportunity to talk about food2soil.
Right.
Wish you all the best as well.
All right. You have a good one.